Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Hi, I'm Sam, and this is Taylor Ham, and we're walking across the United States of America. This next video is an essay that I wrote about homelessness for one of my political science classes. Enjoy the knowledge.
The problem of homelessness in the United States. One day you're on top of the world, and the next you're not. One day you have an excellent job, car, house, beautiful family, kid on the way, and life is looking pretty good. Or you do not have a great life and you're already in poverty. You cannot make ends meet, cannot put food on the table, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. What if everything becomes too expensive and you lose it all? Forces outside of your control, or in, can put you out on the streets. Many factors contribute to homelessness in the United States, such as poor job markets, bad economy, lack of affordable housing, excessive cost of living mixed with low wages, substance abuse, and mental illness, just to name a few. With lack of government resources, many reasons for homelessness in the United States come from a series of problems that need a government solution. In what is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, over 500,000 people are homeless. In that 500,000, 35% of those live unsheltered in places like sidewalks, cars, parks, and abandoned structures. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's definition of homeless is someone who lacks a fixed and adequate nighttime residence. This definition means they are on the streets and unsheltered. However, many definitions for the word homelessness exist depending on which organization is asked. Other definitions of homelessness include recreational vehicles, campers, living with family members, and shelter living. According to HUD's 2018 report, According to HUD's 2018 report, 194,000 homeless people were unsheltered and living on the streets. Another 358,000 are in some sort of shelter throughout the U.S. That is 2% of the population, or 17 out of every 10,000 Americans. Even though everyone can be affected, more men seem to be affected at 200,060, compared to the 106,000 women. Most of the homeless in the United States are in California. The streets of San Francisco, Los Angeles, Santa Rosa, and San Jose are home to just under 200,000 of the United States homeless. This is mostly due to the warm weather and lack of enforcement against sleeping on the streets. The remaining bulk of U.S. homeless are in Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., and New Jersey, with little crowds dispersed throughout the rest of the country. In recent years, the gap between the rich and poor has expanded, weakening the middle class. Years of high taxes and policies that are in favor of the rich have overtaxed the already struggling people, much of whom are already in poverty. Anyone can be homeless. Anyone can become homeless. Poverty is a huge factor in homelessness. In 2005, 13.3% of the U.S. population was in poverty. Poverty is defined as a paycheck away from being homeless. The bottom 20% of earners pay over 53% of their income on shelter expenses alone. These shelter expenses are not including food, utilities, insurance, etc. This puts people at serious risk of homelessness because any unexpected event can put them behind. Unexpected events include a car breaking down, death expenses, sickness, natural disaster, just to name a few. California minimum wage grew to 309% between the years of 1968 and 2002, but the cost of living grew 418%, resulting in a 35% loss of spending power. This is the trend throughout the United States. In LA, a 1% increase in rent will result in a 0.9 to 1.2% increase in homelessness. In some areas, poverty is just a lack of work and poor economy. The Affordable Care Act made most companies not want to give more than 40 hours per week. In the ACA, anyone who works over 40 hours is entitled to job-related benefits through their employer. Many companies can't or won't afford to pay this. This results in less hours to go around and less money to go around. Immigration is another factor, reducing the number of labor-intensive jobs because it is believed that immigrants will work for less money and off the record. Work problems aside, the most troubling statistic is 13% of homeless people were still working. But that number could be as high as 26%. The value of today's minimum wage is 30% lower than in 1979, with a buying power at a 51-year low. The minimum wage needs to be safely raised. Income inequality is not the only factor in homelessness. The unseen and self-inflicted problems also contribute. Mental illness, substance abuse, and homelessness all go hand in hand. One of these three can lead to the other. Homelessness can lead to substance abuse and vice versa. It is believed that a quarter of all homeless had mental health issues. Half of that dealt with substance abuse. According to Christina Murray at theaddictioncenter.com, oftentimes addiction is the result of homelessness. The difficulty of finding food, ill health, missing loved ones, fighting for resources among other homeless, and mental health all contribute to addiction. Mental illness that is often found among homeless people include bipolar disorder, paranoia, schizophrenia, and post-traumatic stress disorder, especially among veterans, depression, and severe anxiety. So all those numbers listed above aside, one may ask, why not just get a job or reach out for help? Homeless people tend to lack documentation, which creates a whole bunch of problems in getting assistance. Lack of documentation makes it almost impossible to get health insurance and trouble getting on assistance waiting lists. No ID to get a job, no permanent address to get a job. According to author Ian D. Jong, 80% of homeless people are only for 1 month or less. And it's a one-time occasion. Should have read that better before submitting this paper. Once someone falls into homelessness, it becomes a survival circle that is hard to get out of. Ian D. Jong came up with it's called the Circle of Homelessness. So it goes like this. It goes in 6 steps. You become homeless. You find other homeless. You adapt. Normalize the abnormal. Get into survival mode. And then get better at being homeless. And that's just a revolving door. And there's a lot of homeless people that will get homes and jobs and stuff, but they have just gotten so good at being homeless, they go back to being homeless. That's why we need places like Just Believing, because they help these people. They help them get back on their feet. They help them get back into a good place mentally and whatever. My hairline was showing, or lack of. It is a cycle that is extremely hard to break because homeless people cannot think about the future. Only day-to-day survival. People in poverty as well. The cycle is the same reason poverty starts. You just get good at being poor. The most needed resources are affordable housing, a case manager, and treatment. Most homeless would accept mental health and addiction services if offered, but there is an extreme lack of. There are tons of resources on the internet if you or someone know needs help. The type of help that exists are shelters, food banks, rental assistance, energy assistance, Medicare, some rehabs, bill help, and transport help. Just Google government assistance. On February 10th, 2020, the Trump administration proposed a bill for $47.9 billion to help end and prevent homelessness in the United States. This proposal would expand resources to HUD-assigned homes, shelters, and programs. But as of 11/10/2020, the New Jersey HUD is not taking any new applications for its waiting list. So hope for these homeless people in New Jersey and in poverty may already be at its limit. The stories that make every individual homeless vary. But these are the factors that are most addressed on the internet. You may be asking yourself, why should I care? Everyone should have a shred of sympathy, because no matter how well your life is going, no matter how well you think your life may be going, this can happen to anybody. With the COVID-19 pandemic, any of us can be headed for homelessness. Homelessness is a mix of factors ranging from poverty as well as hard-to-break cycles. It is important that we know these issues. It is also clear that the government needs to produce better plans to help people so they can have some assurance in case they may become the victim of homelessness. Knowledge is power. With knowledge, we have the power to make sure everyone has a place to lay their heads at night. So, Just Believe Inc., Tom's River. The GoFundMe is Wander with Sam to help Ocean County's homeless.